Hey there, guys. Alright, today we are back with another overly sarcastic productions video. This time, continuing on with some more miscellaneous myths. This time, Anansi wins story. No clue really what to expect with that kind of title. So, some sort of contest maybe? Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. But before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Alright. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. Waste no more time.
Anansi is a pretty well-known god, all things considered. He originates with the Asante people in modern-day
Oh, we're going all the way down into Africa. Okay.
Ghana, and a lot of his folktales were carried to the New World through, well, the same way a lot of people from West Africa were. Anansi's a trickster spirit, a small, fragile spider who habitually thwarts vastly more powerful enemies and accomplishes great feats through cunning alone, no strength required. His motivations are almost always
Anansi's most commonly documented motivations: boredom, laziness, funsies, the existential terror of death. What the fuck? Oh my god, I've seen this spider before. I've seen this. Okay. I'm trying to think of where, though.
selfish, and he's pretty morally neutral.
I feel like from a children's book.
But everyone loves an underdog, and considering the circumstances of the people who brought his stories over, it's not too surprising that his theme of a disadvantaged hero surviving and overcoming powerful enemies got so popular. His certainly weren't the only African folktales that came to the New World, but they were the majority of the ones that really stuck. Anansi has a lot of folk
Yep, that looks super familiar.
tales, usually involving him messing with people and skillfully evading the consequences. But one of the first things Anansi is credited with is actually pretty meta. So this is the story of how Anansi became the god of stories. So Anansi is bored, and figures out the reason why he's bored is that there aren't any stories, at least no accessible ones. See, the sky god
Just kidding, we are vegetarian. Ah, nice.
Nyame is the god of stories, but he's hoarding them like a jerk, so Anansi has no access to free entertainment. Anansi decides that
Hey, I want that. Yeah.
this will not stand, and goes to Nyame to ask for ownership of all the world's stories so he can distribute them more freely. Or maybe just keep them all to himself. He hasn't decided yet. So Nyame's will
All right, little guy, if you are serious, you're gonna have to prove yourself. Do I? Wait. Let me try that again.
willing to give him the stories, but in exchange, Anansi has to do 4 things for him. He has to capture and bring him the 4 most dangerous and or elusive creatures: the Umboro hornets, Onini the giant python, Osebo the leopard, and Moatia the invisible fairy. Anansi accepts the challenge and charges off to start catching them all. To start with, Anansi grabs 2 gourds, fills one with water, and dumps it all over the hornet's nest. Then he starts yelling about how it's raining and they'd better get to safety if they don't want to get drowned. The hornets make a beeline for the empty
There was like, oh, it's just the bees going,
for the empty gourd, and Anansi plugs it and takes it back to Nyame. Next up is Onini the python. For this, Anansi cuts down a long palm branch and starts pacing around Onini's house, muttering to himself. Onini's like, what's going on over here? And Anansi's like, oh, well, see, I was arguing with my wife earlier. She says you're shorter than this branch. And I was like, no, he's totally longer, but now I'm not convinced. And Onini's like, oh, hell no, we're settling this right now. So Onini lays down by the branch, and Anansi's like, no, you still look a little short. Every time you move your head up, your tail, like, slips past the end of the stick. Tell you what, how about I tie you to the stick so we can know for sure? And Onini's like, that sounds like a great plan. So Anansi webs him to the branch and carries him back to
oh no!
Nyame. For Osebo the leopard, Anansi digs a big hole and covers it with sticks and leaves, which sounds incredibly tropey and obvious until you remember Nyame has a monopoly
You don't need to eat the Roadrunner. Just use those Acme funds to order pizza. Meet.
on stories and the tropes thereof, and therefore Osebo is highly unlikely to be familiar with even the obvious classics. So Osebo falls in the hole. Nansi comes over.
You okay, buddy? I fell in a hole. You sure did.
Like, need a hand, buddy? And ties down a nearby willow tree, then spins a rope and attaches it to the treetop. He lowers the web into the hole, and when Osebo ties it to his tail, Anansi cuts the webs holding the willow tree down so the whole thing springs back upright. Osebo gets all tangled up in the web, and Anansi carries him up to Nyame. For the last task, Anansi carves a little puppet dude out of wood and covers it in gum. Then he makes this sweet yam paste, puts it in a little dish, and puts it in the puppet dude's lap. Then he webs up the puppet and waits. Soon enough, Moatia
Hey there, you small wooden friend. Care to share your snacks?
pops up, lured in by the yam paste, and asks the puppet if she can have some. Anansi bobs the puppet's head a little bit, so Moatia digs in. When she's done, she's like,
Thanks, little dude. I said thanks, asshole.
and punches it. This gets her hand stuck. Her next brilliant idea is to kick it. This gets her foot stuck. So after thoroughly
Honey, I'm home. Shoot. I forgot the underdog wins.
babying herself.
Oh my god, this is a really meta story. Holy fuck.
Moati is well and truly stuck, and Anansi takes the whole mess back up to Nyame and claims all the world's stories for
Tell TV tropes, I said, you're welcome.
his own. When I went out
Other well-known Anansi exploits include stealing tigers' testicles, physically escaping death by clinging to the ceiling, actually dying in one version of the Tar Baby story. Tar Baby story? Hold on, go back. On the divine alignment chart, Anansi is a solid chaotic neutral. Same. If you want to see Anansi in his most pissed off, no-nonsense characterization, watch American God, specifically Episode 2. That show is really good about giving excellent monologues to great actors and letting them show off on camera. In the Americas, Anansi was hybridized with trickster hair figures from West to Central Africa to produce the composite figure of Rare Rabbit. Which is funny, because in his original stories, Anansi sometimes clashes with Adanko, the trickster hare. For some reason, America kind of mashed all its imported tricksters together. Yeah. Thesis idea. Explore how Looney Tunes draws on American folklore characters, the trickster hare, the malevolent yet hapless coyote, and then look up the design process to see if those parallels were at all intentional or just crazy coincidence. And that was Miscellaneous Myths, Anansi Wins Stories. This was pretty good. This was entertaining. This was fun. This was a short, sweet, to the point, fun little, very, very meta story. Wasn't expecting it to be that freaking meta. Even though she told us it was a pretty meta story. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.